Few more moments before we get started. I'm just looking at my clock here. I'm pretty bad with going overtime, so I'm trying to be very disciplined and stick to the time I have allotted. So we'll wait about a minute before I launch into the presentation here. But just so to let you know, we do have a 30-minute presentation for Career Services here today. My name is David. I'm from Career Services, and I'll be giving the presentation today. But the format that we'll go through for the next half an hour is that this presentation that I have here will be about 15 minutes, just to go through some of the very basic overlining stuff that Career Services is here to help MITT students with during their time here at MITT and even after their time here at MITT. And then we'll give about 15 or 10 minutes at the very end. If you guys had any questions, there's a discussion panel on your right-hand side. If you ever have a question, definitely plop it in there, even while I'm speaking, if you want to have some questions available, because if you want me to talk about something further that maybe I didn't mention, or if you want me to further elaborate on something that I said in the slides here that you want me to just give more detail on, that is completely fine. We'll have 10 or 15 minutes after the presentation, after we're done here. So, all right, so let's get started. My name, again, is David Driver. I am the acting coordinator for Career Development Services. I'm very excited to be here today. It is tonight here in Winnipeg. It's probably very early in the morning from where you're watching this presentation, so thank you for joining us. I just did want to go through very briefly what Career Services can do for you, because when we're talking to students at orientation, one of the first questions that we ask students is, who's here to find work after they graduate? Who's here wanting to find a job right after? Because some students do want to continue on their education right after. Some students want to pursue other things right after. But for the majority of MITT students, their main goal right after graduation is to get a job. So if that is your goal, that is our goal as well. So we are actively helping students find work after their program is over and even during their program. So we'll talk about how we can help you do those things here at MITT. So here at MITT, we do have a very small team. So I'll just briefly go over the three people here. You've already met the first person right there in the middle. Does he look familiar? It's me, David Driver. But on the left-hand side is Marnie Greneveld. She is our fearless leader. She oversees the department, oversees our activities and all those things. And on the right-hand side is Romalie Manilang. She helps me with the students directly. So it's just the two of us helping students directly. We guide the workshops. We do the one-on-one appointments. We do all those things to help you actively find work and employment after the programs are over and during your program here. So that is our MITT team. So steps to your employment goals. This is something that I like to bring up right away with students, because we want students to realize that it is a journey towards getting your full-time career-related employment. With students, the biggest mistake that they can do is that if they wait right till the end of their program and then they start thinking about employment and then they start thinking about work and building their resume, all those things, they're putting themselves at a disadvantage, because at MITT, there's a lot of things you can do while you are a student to build your skill set, to build your opportunities to find work. And a lot of students do find work even before they graduate from their program. So here we have the step-by-step guides. Obviously, we want students to do well in school. That's, you can't find a job if you don't even graduate from the program. So that's obviously very important to everyone involved. But there's lots of things you can do while you're going to school here. If you do have the time away from your studies, you can volunteer. You can get experience and references that way. You can find part-time employment and references as well if you plan on working part-time while you're going to school as well. And there's other things here, working on your employability skills, networking in your field, researching where you would like to work. If you've near the end of your program, once you start realizing, where could I work? Once I graduate, what types of jobs could I get? You can start researching there and networking there. And if your program does have a practicum, you can get some work experience that way. But the main goal is to get career-related employment at the end of your program or after you graduate. So we like to show this slide again just to show students that it is a bit of a journey. It isn't just a one fix. I have this slide next where one mindset that I want students to really realize even before they take the programs, before they start attempting it, is that a lot of students might think, as long as I do well in school, I will get a job after. It doesn't matter, if I get A+ in all my courses, if I'm a really good student, I'll be very successful. It's going to be a very easy transition that way. And sometimes, students think that, on the left-hand side, that success arrow is very straight. There's nothing wrong. It's going to be smooth and easy ride. But I'm sure a lot of us know that success, sometimes if you have a goal in mind, it's not very easy. It's ups and downs, it's lefts and rights. There's a lot of different things in your path that you have to work on, or you have to realize before you get to success. So that's one thing that we want to impart on students. This is what we tell them before they start the program. So this is something I wanted to talk about today, was success is really not easy, but we're going to really go every step of the way with you and try and help you realize your goals. So it looks less like the one on the right and more like the one on the left. And how we do that, this is something that we're really proud of here at MITT and Career Services. This is the Work Skills Series. So this is something that you may not have experienced before. If you've been to post-secondary before, if you've been to a college or a university, career services at those institutes, it's very optional. You never have to go see career services at those institutes if you don't want to. At MITT, it's a little different because we have very short programs here. Most programs are only a year long. Some are 2 years. But we want students to realize that that time is not a long time at all. And before you realize it, you're going to be in your field working, finding a job, getting a job, something related to your MITT program. So here we have 4 workshops built into your programs. These are mandatory workshops. If your goal is to find employment, we want to make sure that you have the skill set and the tools to realize that goal. So just to briefly go through each one of these, the first one is Introduction to Work Skills. It's my favorite one. I think it is the most important one. And it relates a lot to what I was saying before, where students might think that, if I just do really well in my MITT program, I'm going to find a job right away. No ifs, ands, or buts. That's how easy it is. And I'm here to say that just because you're a good student doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be a good worker. So I see a lot of students, if you're, let's take culinary arts, for example. Let's say you're training to be a chef or a cook, someone who works in a kitchen. You could be an A+ student. You could be the best chef we've ever seen at MITT. You could literally be the best student in the program. But if you can't show up on time to work, if you can't work with your coworkers, if you can't think critically, if you're not a good communicator, it's going to be very unlikely that you'll find or keep a job. There's a lot of those traits that we try to impart onto students. Those are personality traits, those employability skills. That's what Introduction to Work Skills is all about. Training you to be a good worker, because your program will teach you how to be a good student. Career Services, we're really focused on how can you be a good worker, right? And the other ones might be very familiar if you've been to Career Services before. Resume development, that's something, again, that we're very, very specific with, because we have a lot of different programs here at MITT, and all those programs really, in a lot of ways, they need an entirely new resume. If you think about, hairstyling, cutting people's hair, that means a different resume from someone who fixes cars and auto mechanics. They need a different resume from someone who is, again, culinary arts, working in a kitchen. It differs between MITT program. We'll go into your program and we'll teach you, what does your resume look like? What in your industry? What does industry look like for your resume? Interview skills, same thing. What does a Canadian interview look like? What types of questions do they ask, especially in your specific field that you're going into? What types of questions can I anticipate? We're going to train you specifically on your program and your industry, what interviews look like. And again, transition to work is a lot about job searching. And this has transformed a lot in the quarantine times that we live in the pandemic world, because again, finding a job looks a lot different. You can't really go in person and drop off resumes and meet people. There's a lot more online components to it. So we're teaching students, how do you find a job in the pandemic? How do you go online and find work that way? What's the best tools? What's the best strategies to use? So near the end of your program, we'll have a workshop talking about how do you find a job, specifically in Canada, but also specifically in this quarantine time. Because unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it's going to end anytime soon. So we want students to be prepared on how to meet that challenge. And something that is like other institutes, other post-secondary institutes, we do have regular career services as well. So outside of the workshops, if you ever wanted to meet with us one-on-one for appointments, we are available to do that as well. So we are available for resume and cover letter assistance, for example. We do have mock interviews, interview preparation. So again, if we taught you the basics, if you want to practice interview, that's very popular with students. We are here to help you with that. Job search assistance. There's career decision making as well. So where can I take my MITT program? Or if students have additional education from back home that they want to apply as well, where can I take that? We can talk about that. Assess like your profile, assess your skill set. And lastly, here's post-secondary, because some students do actually want to continue on with their education. They do want to continue on and get further education We can research other places, not only in Manitoba, but all of Canada. I've researched other institutes with students. If they're looking to continue on their education, where's the best place for me to continue it? What can I take? Those types of options. So there is that one-on-one opportunity as well with us. One thing that we are very proud of, again, is career events. We try to get, your life at MITT, again, is a very short time, only about a year if you take a year program, 2 years if it's longer than that. So we try to incorporate different elements into your student time here. One of it is volunteer fairs. We try to have 2 volunteer fairs a year. I know that right now we're planning our very first virtual volunteer fair for this fall. So that's very exciting for everyone involved. Again, if we're going to encourage students to maybe volunteer while they're going to school to gain experience and references, we want to give them the opportunity to find a place. So that's a good option there. Employer panels is something that we're currently working on, and we really work on year round. We want employers in your program. We want people who hire our students in your classroom, talking about who do they hire? What do they look for in students? What types of skill sets matter to them? What's the most important things that they're looking for when they're hiring people? We want them to impart some advice and some wisdom and some insight into the industry. So again, employer panels right now recently have been all virtual. So you can see a photo there. Again, this is what I'm hosting. So again, I'm all over this slide. But this is what it looks like. We get employers in talking about what's the best way to find work, giving advice, something that I think is really, really valuable here at MITT. These people are going to be hiring you eventually. So what are they looking for? And again, guest speakers, again, usually we try to get it in your class, but right now it's all virtual. And lastly is student groups. We do get involved with student groups here at MITT. So there is the Women in Trades and Technology. There's the Professionals in Healthcare. There's a multitude of student groups that are here at MITT, and Career Services. We do try to go in at least a few times a year to participate in some things and have some career-related topics. So again, inside of class, outside of class, and even in the extracurricular stuff, we are trying to embed career into everything we do here at MITT. Lastly, before we take some questions, so again, if you guys had any questions for me, you could start putting them in the discussion tab there. The last thing I want to talk about is work connections. This is something that, again, is very unique and something we're very proud of in Career Services. Basically, this came from employers coming to me, specifically emailing me all the time and asking me if students are looking for work. Do you know of any students you can recommend to me? Is there anybody who's looking for a job? My answer always is yes. So, there's always students looking for work. So what is happening at MITT is that when you register at MITT, you're going to get a student email. During your time at MITT, and even a few years after you graduate, you are going to get employer postings. You're going to get job advertisements sent directly from the employer to us, and then we send it out to you. So this is a very good feature because, again, this might be job advertisements that are just specific to our MITT students. These employers may not even advertise to the public. They might just advertise to us. So that's another great feature of this. But during your time at MITT, you won't be applying for these jobs because you won't be ready to apply for these jobs. But near the end of your program, you'll have a good idea of all these job ads. Who is looking for our students? What types of skill sets are they looking for? What types of experience are they wanting? You're going to have a really good idea of who should I apply to after my program's over. It's another good resource, another good job searching tool. So again, something that we had to set up because I was just getting too many requests for our students. So this is another great feature. We're going to send it directly to your email. You don't have to go looking for it. We'll send it directly to you. So that's it for my planned slides. Just really quickly before I exit out, I do want to mention that our group email, so all three of us, we do check work connections at mitt.ca quite frequently. So if you had any questions for us after this presentation, after this open house, you can connect with us that way. If you want to meet with us specifically, we can always go, I guess not over the phone if you're still international, because, I don't know, long distance charges would probably kill me. But we could definitely do Skype and Zoom and Teams and every other one verb, one noun program name for online communication. And of course, follow us on Instagram. We like to show off all the things that we're doing on a daily basis, whether it's employer events, whether it's contests or things like that. So if you're interested in what Career Services does on a daily basis at MITT, Instagram is the place to go. So it's at MITT_career_services. So thank you very much. So we'll take some questions.
All right, everyone. I do see there's quite a few people still watching. So if anyone's sitting on a question they would like David to answer, or watch me try to stumble through an answer, just put it in the discussion thread and we'll get to it. I will remind everyone that we do also have a career chat booth on the platform right now. So if you have a handful of questions, if you want to, video chat, if that's easier, they're waiting there. They're ready to chat. David's going to hop over there after this presentation. So
Yep.
Just either in this discussion thread or jump over to the other booth. But there's no new questions right now, so we'll hang out for a few minutes more here. I know there's a bit of a delay, and if you have type out a question, but if not, thanks everyone for joining.
No problem. And yeah, just like Pierre had said, we do have the career booth if you had any questions. And again, the work connections at mitt.ca. If you have a question that pops up, a week from now, and you're really kicking yourself because you forgot to ask it right now, that's the place to find us after this specific presentation is over.
We did have one come in here, David. It says, "Can you please tell me jobs related to the CAD technician course?"
CAD technician, very good. CAD technician, just very generally, very specific for those who are watching and may not know what CAD technician is. It's sort of like architecture in a way, entry-level architecture positions. So with CAD technician, you would find yourself in those architecture type of firms. So entry-level, so working with blueprints, working with CAD design software specifically, things like that. That's the majority of where our students find positions is those types of companies. And again, there's a good benefit there because I think one of the things that I try to guide students toward thinking of, because in CAD technician, you can work at very big organizations, but CAD technician, there is a lot of opportunity to look at small organizations as well. So for students, I think it's a matter of, would you want to work in a bigger organization or a smaller organization? But there are different varieties of that. Other than architecture type of jobs, there is some positions related to mechanical engineering, not too much though, and that's more of the design aspect of it, but I won't go into too much detail there. Hopefully that answers your question there, but mostly it would be in architectural firms. But that again is something, if you had any specific questions, because one of the great things about career services is that we do keep track of our students of where they find work, and we do have a lot of interaction with employers. So if students were ever curious about where they could find jobs or examples of places in Winnipeg that they could work after they're graduated, we could provide them a list of places that have hired our students before, and then they can research those places and see what they're all about. So, yep.
Awesome. Any last questions before we shut down this broadcast? This is the second and last career one of the night, so last opportunity to ask here. But like I said, chat booth or the Work Connections email is always a great place to get a hold of these guys.
Yeah, that was a very good question. The previous group has very, very general, broad questions, and that was a very, very specific one. So that was good. You're testing me in my knowledge. We have. What are we up to now? 30 program? I always forget the exact number. It seems like it's growing every day.
Yeah.
So it's good to test me. You pick out one of those and you say, tell me about that one. And I go, all right, I can do it.
Yeah, that looks to be it for questions for this session. So
sure thing.
Yeah, thanks everyone for joining. And yeah, check out the rest of the booths. I think there's a few more presentations. We're in the last hour of International Open House. So thanks for attending.
Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the open house.